Mr. Faulend, at 1st of January in the next year, Croatia will adopt the euro. We will miss the kuna.
On one hand, yes, but you know, euro is bringing so many benefits for Croatia that we don't have any kind of hesitation to postpone or not to introduce the euro. And that is so from the very beginning, from the moment that we did the cost-benefit analysis of the euro introduction in Croatia. Many people were asking exactly this question, and I'm always saying, on one hand, yes, we will miss kuna because this is part of our monetary history, if you want also sovereignty part, and that's natural. But on the other hand, we are gaining so many benefits in comparison to costs, talking about economic benefits and costs, that, as I said, we don't have any doubt not to introduce the euro and not to introduce it as sooner as possible.
What will be the first thing that you will buy with euro? Have you...
The first thing? Well, it really depends. Probably bread or some things in the bakery, because this is usually what we do on the 1st of January, because on 1st of January, as you know, many shops are being closed. But quite some bakeries are open, so probably it will be bread or something like that.
Okay. What was the toughest obstacle to overcome on the path on the road to the Eurozone?
It's not a simple question. And it's obviously not easy to answer it in one or two sentences. You know, the euro introduction was a real process, which lasts since 2017, so 5 years, full 5 years or more now. And there were quite some, so to say, challenges throughout this time. At the very beginning, the most challenging was definitely to clarify the process, because the process was not clear. What Croatia should, in a way, satisfy or meet criteria to be able to enter into the ERM2. So this part was not very clear at the very beginning. But as time was going by, these things became more clear. And by 2018, mid-2018, these things became, I would say, quite clear. And then in 2019, we were already ready to send intention letter for the ERM2 entry. And later on, a year later on, 2020, in July time, we were entering into the ERM2. So I would say that in these early days, this unclarity about the real conditions that Croatia has to satisfy was, I would say, one of the challenges. Later on, once we basically were about to enter into the ERM2, and when we entered the ERM2, you know, the challenge was definitely pandemics, which started in February, March time, if I recall correctly, of 2020. So this was literally a few months before ERM2 entry. We unfortunately had a big earthquake in Croatia also these days.
Yes, I remember.
So some were in a way, I don't want to say hesitant, but they unsure whether Croatia will really be able to enter in, because things have changed at that moment. But, you know, in talking with the Commission, we very clearly said that we are very determined that all the conditions that are put in front of us, that we are meeting, and that we are about to meet very shortly, irrespective of all these negative external shocks which are happening to us, and which are which are beyond our control. So, you know, we cannot influence the earthquake, we cannot influence the pandemics. This is something what is affecting all, I mean, not the earthquake, but pandemics is affecting all countries, including Croatia. And that was accepted. That was broadly accepted, and Croatia, together with Bulgaria, was finally welcomed into the ERM2. So this was this kind of a shock that happened then. And later on, as time was passing by, we were basically participating in ERM2, which was kind of a natural environment for us because we are used to stable exchange rates, so no problem at all. But as you know, to enter into the Eurozone, you have to meet Maastricht criteria. Yes. And one of the Maastricht criteria is inflation. And you are perfectly aware of what is and what has been happening over the last year. So you had increasing energy prices, increasing food prices, inflation is going up in all countries. It's a global phenomenon. There are many reasons why this is happening, not to enter into these reasons, but this is also affecting Croatia. And again, in this kind of environment, you had some thoughts whether Croatia will be fit and proper to satisfy all Maastricht criteria, in particular inflation, and to enter in. And I would say that we also were lucky a bit that we really met this criterion. But inflation, as you may know, has never been a problem in Croatia since the stabilization program that we had in early 90s, 1993. So since then, inflation in Croatia was very low, single digit, 2% or a little bit around.
Around the ECB norm, around 2%, which is the ECB norm. Yes.
So we were completely in line with the Eurozone, and EU inflation rates for how many? Almost 30 years now. So inflation was really not a problem. But in this specific moment, it appeared that there might be a risk because you never know how much a certain, so to say, a shock on inflation can a bit more affect a single country in comparison to the group. But as I said, this was a relatively symmetric shock. So basically it was affecting everybody, including Croatia. So we were again in line with the inflation which was in the Eurozone, so we satisfied these criteria. So these are some of the challenges from top of my head over this period of time.
You received a Bulgarian delegation here in Zagreb. As you said, we both entered in the ERM2 mechanism, but Bulgaria is still not on the path through the Eurozone. What was your advice to our Bulgarian delegation about adopting the euro? What was I don't know, the secret that made the difference between Bulgaria and Croatia, maybe?
There is no any particular secret. What I was telling and what the Bulgarian colleagues were interested in, they were interested in basically in our path, how we did some things and what was the dynamic. So kind of a timeline of certain elements in the process. So I was basically explaining them these elements, how it worked out in Croatia, what we did, and they told me that in many of these elements we are basically on the same page, that you have similar structures which have been established, but obviously because of some other reasons, basically this process in Bulgaria has been a little bit slower, but that doesn't mean that the euro is at risk, number one. Number two, what they were interested in this very practical sphere, so to say, because at the end of the day, to introduce euro, you have to do some operational technical adjustments in the economy, in the banking system, in the central bank, ministries, government, etc., in enterprises, you know. So these are very technical operational adjustments that have to be done. And they were, among other things, interested when we started these technical adjustments. And I said that everybody were telling us that you need 2 years, 1.5 years at least, to be ready for the euro. And I told them that we basically started with these preparations exactly a year ago, approximately September, October time last year, full speed ahead on many fronts. So if you look at the Croatian experience, all these operational aspects of the euro introduction can be done in, say, 15 months or so. So it is really not necessary to have 2-year time or whatever. Although, of course, the more time you have, it's much more easier than for all the stakeholders in the process.
So, do you think that the private sector is ready for and the banking sector is ready for the adoption of euro right now?
In Croatia?
In Croatia, yes.
I would say so, yes. We started with these preparations, as I said, a year ago. These preparations are well advancing. They are now in the final stages. There is a huge burden on banks to change the IT systems, etc., etc. They are now doing a series of testings of these changes, and I would say that they are in a very good position to start a real changeover on 1st of January.
So the people with deposits and loans, they deposits and loans will be automatically changed in euros.
Yes. This is kind of an idea that we were communicating, and we are basically materializing that through this process, that banks will enable automatic change of the system. So basically, if somebody has a loan or if somebody has a deposit, this will be automatically exchanged into the euros on 1st of January 2023 at no cost, and at the fixed exchange rate, conversion rate. So basically, this is the solution which requires absolutely no action on consumer side. So they really can be calm, not nervous, and everything will happen. The only thing that where they will have to act is cash. So if they have some cash,
they have to change it.
They will have to change it. And what we did at that part, we again said to the banks that whoever comes, this has to be in accordance to the law, which means no cost at fixed exchange rate, which is conversion rate.
For how long this will be the process? How long the people can change the kunas to euros?
This is a good question. So what we said is that in the banks, commercial banks, kunas will be able to be exchanged for a year period. Yeah. Beyond banks, perhaps I didn't mention that, we will beyond banks have post offices which will also do the same. And also FINA is a specialized company which will also do the same. So they will also participate in this exchange. The reason why we included post offices and FINA offices is just to expand the network. So the network of places where people, consumers can come and exchange, just for them to be easier.
Yes.
Croatia also has quite some islands and remote territories. And on some of the islands you don't have banks, but you do have a postal office. So this was also kind of a consideration. But in all of them, for a year time, everybody will be able to exchange the money. After a year, at the Croatian National Bank, everyone will be able to exchange notes, kuna notes, indefinitely. But kuna coins for additional 2 years. So basically coins will be exchangeable for 3-year period. Yeah, 3-year period, and notes indefinitely. So no limit for the exchange of notes.
Did you see already some positive movements after the news that you are already part of the Eurozone? Some investments or something like this, this kind of dynamics?
Well, in terms of investments, I cannot say that we see some real investment coming up a day after the information was put in public. But what you have as a kind of a signal is credit agencies. So credit rating agencies increased credit rating of Croatia, which was expected because they were announcing that before.
Yes.
You know, so this was not a surprise. This was not a surprise, but of course this is always a nice news. So we expected that, and that really happened.
So my last question is, what will be on the coins, and what symbols will be on the coins of Croatian euro?
On the coins, each country has its own national site, and in case of Croatia, we will have 4 motifs. 4 motifs, with 5th motive in the background, so to say. So the motifs that we have is on the €2 coin, the map of Croatia. Yes. On €1 coin is a forest martin. This is a small animal. We call it in Croatian kuna, which is today also a name for Croatian currency. Yes. Yeah. On the 50, 20, and 10 cents, we will have Nikola Tesla, great Croatian inventor. Yeah. And on 5, 2, and 1 cent, we will have glagolitic letters noting HR, which means Croatia. And in the background, or at least part of the background of all these coins, we will also have a checkboard. You know, the Croatian national representation.
Yes,
so we will have part of this checkboard as kind of a symbol of Croatia.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.